Welcome to Weird Games and Weirder People, a podcast about role-playing games and the weird, wonderful people behind them. Hello, wonderful weirdos. This is Diogo Nogueira, and I have a very special guest for you today. I'm talking about Otavio Lessa from Mind Games. He is a Brazilian who is living in the United States, and he has a publisher who is publishing a lot of great games from Brazil. But before I get to talking to that, I would like to remind you to please subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcast. Leave us a review, tell people what you think about the show, support the show, check out the show notes to see how you can pay us a coffee or buy one of my games, and check out Cosmos Hours, Primal Quest, Screams Among the Stars, and many other games I have on Exalted Funeral. But now, let's get back to Otavio Lessa. I talked to him about his journey to the many different areas from entertainment. He worked on video games, he worked on World of Warcraft, he worked on movies, and he talked about many interesting things, influences, and how he's trying to get these very great games from Brazil and translate them to English and make it more accessible to people all over the world to check out the amazing work that creators from here are making. We had some cat interruptions. You see we mentioned there, I have 4 cats here. We talked about crowdfunding he's having for Mind Games. It is Infaernum, which is a very cool and unique game, an apocalyptic game that also works as a toolkit you can insert in any other role-playing game as a something that will change your campaign forever. We talk about many other RPGs and creators from Brazil. We talk about his huge collection of weird horror movies from all over the world. We talk about very interesting weird experiences, mysticism, aliens, mindfulness, and many weird things. I hope you really enjoyed this episode as much as I did, so let's get weird with Otavio Lessa. Hey, Otavio Lessa, welcome to Weird Games and Weirder People. It's so good to have you here, my friend. How have you been?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. Not sure what we're gonna do here. I'm excited to see what happens. I want to know if I'm weird enough to be here.
Yeah, we are weird enough, I think, right? I mean, if you're doing this, if you're actually trying to work with role-playing games, you are probably weird enough, I would say. But Otavio, for the wonderful weirdos who are out there who probably don't know who you are because you're more a publisher, you don't write much stuff, right? But I'd like to hear from you too, like who is Otavio Lessa, what is that you do, and if you can, share just a small weird detail about yourself, maybe a weird habit, maybe a weird way you do your coffee or hats you use, I don't know, any weird personal thing you can share.
Wow, okay. Okay. So Otavio Lessa, I'm Brazilian, even though I'm speaking English here. I'm pretending I'm super fluent, but I'm Brazilian.
He's a fellow RPG Latin.
Yes, I am.
Member.
I have the mission to spread the RPG, Latin RPG, and English language. That's the mission now.
Awesome.
Well, I worked in entertainment for, I don't know, more than 20 years. I worked with movies. Actually, I started in the home video business. Remember the video stores and such? Videotapes, VHS?
Yeah.
So, yes, in Brazil back, and I started with video business, then I started working for magazines there, video games, and such.
Wow.
I worked with Rubens Evaldo Filho, the famous movie critic back in Brazil for many years as his assistant. And that's how I started with publishing. I was actually publishing movie magazines and movie books, movies about, movie criticism. Then I moved to video games because, working for movie magazines, they always had a column about video games and music and such. And it's like, oh, you probably play video games. Can you write something for us? And I was like, oh, yes, let's do it. And that's it branched out, and there was the boom of the DVD. I worked for a lot of DVD companies as well, because they wanted to create extras, behind the scenes and stuff like that. Curiously, I worked for China Video in Brazil. Remember Sessão Kickboxer, the
Oh
TV
yeah.
Bandeirante? Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
Band.
curator. Yeah, I was curator for
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
So for those who don't know, like there was a TV channel. There was a TV channel in Brazil that I think it was Tuesday night or Wednesday night, they had a kung fu movie showing up.
Yeah.
So I did that. So I think that's weird enough, um,
Mm-hmm.
or unusual enough. Then I moved to the United
That's
States
yeah.
around, yeah. And then in 2010, I moved to the United States to work for video games company. I worked for Blizzard Entertainment for almost 10
Wow.
years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you do there?
I
If you
started.
can say it, if it's not like
No, yeah, I can't say I
secret
did
or
a lot of
anything.
stuff there. I started working as in the web content division there, Battle.net, all that stuff for because basically they were expanding their
Mm-hmm.
footprint. They had some markets, international markets, but they wanted to expand to more markets. And LATAM was a critical market for them, so they wanted someone that could also create content in English, but they also are fluent in Portuguese and
Yeah.
others in Spanish. I supervise also the translation for World of Warcraft to Portuguese.
Oh yeah. Did you work with Flavia and Michelle?
Um, yes, the names are familiar. I need to
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
them,
They
but
work
yes,
on translating Blizzard stuff
yeah,
here. They're our friends.
yeah. Some of them don't like me very much because I had
Oh
to
yeah.
actually control.
I will
I had
mention
to,
your name to
yeah,
them and see
yeah.
their reaction.
They're probably gonna hate me for some choices that I
Hey, I
had to
met
make.
Otavio Lessa. Do you
Yeah,
know him?
yeah. No, yeah, because we had to control the glossaries
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that they actually fit some of the lore stuff, some upcoming
Mm-hmm.
things that they couldn't share with external
Yeah.
contractors and stuff. But yeah, at Blizzard I did a lot of stuff. Then I changed the community teams. I changed groups,
Wow.
not only that I am content international, esports, a lot
Very
of
cool.
stuff. I stayed there for a long time. I actually worked for Activision titles as well at some point, Call of Duty,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Um, then I moved to Seattle in the middle of the pandemic to work for Amazon, and I hate it. It was awful. Like, um,
Jeff
not my,
Bezos.
yeah, not my style. Don't get me wrong; they pay me very well,
Oh yeah.
but not my style. They, again, a lot of great people, a great
Mm-hmm.
company for the right kind of person, but for me, I think me always working with video games and movies and entertainment in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people there they saw these kind of things the same way as a retailer would do. So, um, you know, price value things.
Mm-hmm.
When we create things, creativity. I don't think we can put it exactly price on those things. And movies and books and things like that, they evoke feelings and emotions, and I think those things also have a different. You need to treat them differently. You're not selling them sugar.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same as selling sugar or diapers or butter. It's a different kind of sensibility. So we clashed a lot.
It's art. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And we got to a point, and also like the Seattle area, even though it's beautiful, the weather is not great for someone from Brazil.
Where are you
We
from here from Brazil?
I'm from Vitória, Espírito Santo.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so for those who don't know, it's very close to Rio. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's similar vibes.
yeah,
Like
similar,
a
very
smaller,
similar,
yeah.
weather and
Shareware
such.
version of Rio, yeah.
Yeah, it's a demo. Is the
Yeah.
is yeah, it's the sample.
Yeah. Quick
So yeah,
start rooms.
yeah, it's the starting area, it's level one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so we started with and we moved there in the middle of the pandemic, completely locked
Yeah.
down, cold, snow, storms, 2 years
Wow.
completely locked. We had a newborn baby,
Wow.
a small girl as well, And after years like this, cabin fever, feeling hostages, we said, you know what, we need to change our lives completely. Let's move to another place, and we decided to go to Florida because there's sun there. It's closer to
Yeah, there was no
Brazil.
pandemic in Florida, as
Yeah,
far
yeah,
as
yeah,
I saw in
exactly.
the
Yeah,
news.
yeah, yeah.
There's no pandemic in Florida, so
That was the very first
yeah.
thing that the realtor told us is, you know what? There's no pandemic here. It's a beautiful thing here. And we all got there with masks and such, and they're like, "What are you doing with masks?" And we're like, "Oh my god, really?" Um, and then we decided to move here, and we said, you know what? But I cannot move. Still working for Amazon. We need to start. If we're going to start from scratch, let's start from scratch. And then we decided to start from scratch. And we decided what we're going to do, me and my wife. And we said, let's do something that we like, that we always love. I need to work with games or entertainment and arts of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to keep working on video games. I'm kind of like burned out. Um, and we started doing some soul searching. It was like a early midlife crisis of such.
What did you do for soul searching, for example?
Oh, we start exploring here the area, the beaches. It was fine. It was awesome to see the sunlight after 2 years and a half
Oh,
in the darkness. People from
yeah.
Washington. No, don't get me wrong. If you're listening to this, I love people from Washington. They're probably the nicest people that you can ever meet. But I think they need to be nice because that's all they have. They have other people. They need to be happy with other people
They
there.
need to be the sunlight in
Yeah,
each other's
exactly. They
lives, you
need to be
know.
warm for, yeah. They
Yeah,
need they need
yeah,
to be warm for each other.
yeah.
The nicest people you can find probably in America, you're gonna find in Washington State. I made friends there that I'm gonna have for life, but that the place is just not for me. And we always had friends, me and my wife, that actually work with role playing games and board games and
Mm-hmm.
comic books and such, and said, you know what? There's so many friends of us that ours that you know they are so creative. They make amazing things, and the thing though is some of them we see them doing catharsis, crowdfunding campaigns in Brazil, and they get like a print run of 500 copies of their game or such, or their book or the comic, and they print that, they get happy with that, but then they move on to their regular lives, working at a bank, or they just fulfill
Mm-hmm.
that the goal, but nothing really changes in that life, and the game might be forgotten, or the comic get forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
We saw this happening over the years. And what if we go to them and say, what are you doing at those games or those books or those comics? Do you want to try for us to do something in English and try to see if we can expand, or bring it to a new audience? We can try. We never did this before. I worked with publishing before, but not for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Does
yeah,
Mind Games only publishes stuff translated to English, or do you have uh, your own people producing that stuff in English that you produce too? What is
at this point, we're just translating things.
okay?
We got a lot of games that we liked right at the beginning, and
Awesome, yeah.
yeah, we said, you know what? There's so many things already. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so let's start with that. There's no point of
Yeah,
us
you did what
waiting.
I wanted to do. Like I
Oh,
wanted to move to Portugal and open a publisher to publish Brazilian games in English because there's so many great games here, and it's awesome to see someone doing that. Yeah.
you can still do it, man. Go to Portugal. You publish there. I keep
No,
publishing here.
I things changed. I'm bound to this hellish place here. Unfortunately, unfortunately, there's good stuff and bad stuff, but I'm bound here at least for a
Okay,
while.
that's fair. But yeah, so basically, we started talking to our friends, and said, you know what? Well, let's try. There are no guarantees. We might fail miserably. We never done this before. Have no idea what we're doing. Of course, me and my wife, we worked with entertainment for a long time. We are not, you know, people who with no experience whatsoever. We have experience in a lot of these things, but again,
Oh
we never
yeah.
did. We never did by ourselves. and from scratch, so we never know, right? And we got a lot of support. A lot of people believed in us, even when we didn't have anything to show yet. Like we said, we have nothing. We just have a logo and a PowerPoint to show you who we are and what we're trying to do. And if you give us a shot, we'll try our best. And that's how we're starting. Like we're less than 2 years old. Only we're just starting. But we're already pushing a lot of interesting things in English. But yeah, in the future, yes, we would like to create, our own things or maybe get things in English. Who knows? We're open to anything. But so far the point is to bring, all these amazing games that are hidden, to a bigger audience. I think that's the goal for now.
That's amazing. Can you just give me a minute? I
Sure.
think by 1 minute. 1 minute. Notes the time here so I can edit this. Sorry, cat doing cat things.
My cat was trying to break into, like I could see the paw going below the door.
Yeah. So yeah, you managed to start this, and now you have a publisher doing publishing games you're translating in English, and you said you have already a bunch of games. Can you share a little bit what games you have?
Yeah.
And what you're planning to release? You're actually crowdfunding a game right now, right?
Yes. We're doing right now Infaernum, which is a very, very unique game. But let's start from the beginning, right? The beginning was
Okay.
the Legacy of Cthulhu. The Legacy of Cthulhu,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was our first game. We learned a lot. We opened the crowdfunding last year, the beginning of last year, I think it was March 2023. Again, we had no idea what we were doing. When we look at the campaign, when we opened, it was like, oh my God, how people believed in us with that campaign. Like we had no idea what we're promising people. Like we knew that we're going to deliver. Like no matter what, I'm going to deliver because that's our reputation right there, right? Even if I have to sell my house, I'm not gonna let these people down. The problem, though, is I had no idea, right, exactly all the moving pieces were going to work. I had just a rough,
Mm-hmm.
Plan, right? And because again, it's a new company, you need to set your vendors, you need to set your processes, you need to set your
Oh
your
yeah.
your 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 contractors and such, right? And the other
Did
thing
you
is, hmm?
did you have help with anybody to get this contracts, or it was because you already worked with some companies that did this kind of publishing and stuff, and you were able to find this quickly?
Yeah.
How was that
So
process?
yeah, so like again, the marketing, because I came from the marketing background, I could do all the marketing by myself, so I could set up everything. Editorial as well, because with Blizzard, I also supported editorial many times. So
Oh yeah, that's true.
so editing, I had my contacts already.
Yeah, graphic design and
Yeah,
some
the
stuff. Yeah.
translators and artists. So I had already a good network of contacts that could do. I think the trick was actually two tricks that we needed to figure out. One was manufacturing in China, because even at this point, like when working on big companies like Amazon or Blizzard or something, when you need things done, you have enough budget to hire, a producer to do this for you. You don't do that yourself.
Yeah.
So I had to do that myself. I need to,
Yeah.
talk to all of the factories, and
Yeah.
actually that was a
That's the
problem. Like,
life of the
yeah,
indie
the indie,
creator.
right? Yeah, I need
Do
to start
everything.
again. Yeah, start from scratch. And actually that was one of the we only delayed the delivery, I think, in 2 or 3 months, which for a first project I think was pretty decent. I wish we didn't delay anything, but we delayed 3 months. And it was because we got a factory, but we didn't like that factory. Like we always had this,
Mm.
something doesn't feel right, and at the very end we just switched, and that was what delayed us. But also the other part was the original game. um, we It was very good, but we had concerns about how certain aspects of the game would be met by other players outside
Hmm.
Brazil. Because again, because not again, first time I'm talking about. I talked this
Can you
to
give just
so many people. Yeah,
any
yeah,
example or?
yeah. Because a lot of because uh, the Cthulhu game from Jefferson and Bruno from 101
Mm-hmm.
Games, it wasn't really their first RPG. It was actually their fourth RPG in the series,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
They had a vampire game, then they had a
Vampire, the
werewolf.
mage one, the
Yeah,
werewolf.
exactly.
Yeah.
So at that point, when they released the Cthulhu game, they already had a fan base, and people already were familiar with a lot of the systems that they had and their techniques
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the minutia of the game. So
True.
so there's a lot of elements in that game that took that for granted. There's certain
Oh.
backstory, and also they are very strong in
Mm-hmm.
the solo RPG community. So
Yeah.
they also made games from them for themselves. So kind of like, oh, we're making games for my
Yeah.
buddies. There's that
There's
feeling,
this
right?
shared language
Exactly.
that developed over time, maybe, and that development didn't happen in the international community. Would say.
Yes,
Huh.
and
Yeah.
we felt that very strongly when we read the book. I said, okay, I think we need to add a lot more context to
Mm-hmm.
this game. So I think the original game had roughly 80 to 90 pages, and it was A5 size, and we ended up expanding. So the final one actually in English is A4, like office size, is much larger, and it's almost 150. It's 152 pages. So that was me going back to my editorial roots and acting as a real editor publisher with Jefferson. Say, Jefferson, we need to rewrite this. We need to get this rule more, clear. We need to get this rule broken down in parts so anybody can understand the reasoning. You're not just saying you need to do this. People need to understand where you're coming from. You need to be a little bit more um, educational in explaining certain things. Otherwise,
Yeah.
people might resist. And the game is also
Mm-hmm.
very tough. It's very unforgiving. There's a lot of instant deaths and things like that, right? And I think there is an appeal of that, especially when Brazilians like that. Brazilians, they have very strong game culture in general, right? Since the arcades in the 80s, And remember the arcade in the 80s, you put a coin there, you're gonna get murdered really quickly because they want you to
Yeah.
put another coin, right?
Yes. Yes.
So Brazilians are tough. They like tough games, right? But that's not necessarily true in other places. So,
Yeah, and I think it's
right?
also the solo
Yeah, the
RPG
Dark Souls.
community
Yeah.
in Brazil kind of grew together with the OSR kind of community. So this mentality of yeah, it's tough, we're gonna die and it's gonna be fun, kind of grew together in a way, right?
So we also had to, I think, not tone down because the game is still pretty brutal. I see some
Mm-hmm.
reviewers saying, "Oh, this game is not balanced," and I said, "No, the game is balanced, but he's balanced to kill you. is
Yeah,
on
well,
purpose,
come on, it's Cthulhu.
Yeah,
Are you expecting to survive this?
yeah.
You
So
probably should be playing, something else. I don't know. There are some games of Cthulhu that can be more heroic, like Pope Cthulhu and stuff. But usually, when you see Cthulhu, you expect, yeah, this is
yeah,
not gonna end well.
yeah. You end up, crazy or
Yeah,
dead most of the
that's
times, right?
that's what it is about.
So we learned a lot. So basically, we had to, me and my wife, we rewrote, or the ghostwriters in a way of part of the game to expand that part.
Mm-hmm.
We translated
Yeah,
also the game in a way. Also, there's a very different sensibility on um, the way Brazilians write rules and English
that's
speakers
true.
write rules. So um, we cannot take direct
Yeah, the way
translations. Yeah,
we
you need to
think
add it.
language is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took us a while to get that,
Mm-hmm.
pace right.
That
But now
fine
we're
tuning.
doing, fine tuning. So it took us almost a year to release the first game, which was Cthulhu. And now we're coming with, well, we're already announced and we already out the PDF of Vampire, right? So now we're bringing the
Mm-hmm.
other games back. So the physical version actually is coming next month to the stores. It was already on
The
distribution.
vampire one?
Yeah, the vampire one's already on pre-sale.
Okay.
And we're going to start delivering to the stores in May.
That's
Um,
nice.
yeah, so
Ah.
that one is done. Thank God it's finished, because that one took a while too. Because since it was the first one that Jefferson wrote was in rough shape. He wrote during the pandemic, so I don't think
Oh,
his
so
mood. Yeah, his mood. I don't think.
you guys working on the text like you did on Legacy of Cthulhu too?
Yeah.
Nice.
We revised everything. We actually it's a completely new translation.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
we made
Yeah.
some edits to the rules as well to be more actually to be because since Cthulhu is a newer
Mm-hmm.
version of the rule sets,
Yeah.
we adapted certain things to be compatible, to be more compatible. So it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
revised version. I wouldn't call it a second edition because the content is still the same,
Mm-hmm.
but we made some tweaks. So people who are familiar with the original, they're going to see the differences as well. And of course, the layout and the design is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
They have new illustrations from our friend Felipe Faria as well.
Yeah. He's fantastic
So he
artist.
did.
Yeah.
He created some amazing
Yeah.
new art, fresh artwork for
Yeah. He did an
Vampire.
interview here too.
Yeah, I
It
heard
was
that.
very
It's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did also for the other books. The other books are also in the works.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lycanthrope, Blood Curse, is almost done as well. It's completely
Mm-hmm.
translated. It has new artwork. We're just finalizing the layout. It should come out during the summer. And then The
Mm-hmm.
Witch, Covenant of Shadows, wrote mostly by the end of the year. So with that, we're going to put all these early horror games from 101 Games. All of them will be in print, on sale, and
Very nice.
distribution in the United States. And not only the United States, because we have the distribution
Distribution.
worldwide.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cthulhu is on distribution in Europe and Australia. It was pretty awesome to see that Brazilian game, going everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Receiving emails from is that's the cool part, right? Receiving
Yeah.
emails
Yeah.
from Greece, from Thailand, from Philippines, and like, oh
Yeah.
my god, this game is
Finding a
amazing.
review of your game in Korean and it was like, wow, that's so cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the best part, and people loved it. We're still
Mm-hmm.
have to find a bad review of that game, so that was really special for us, and it was reassuring. Like, okay, I think we're doing something right here because we picked the right game, we did the good job, we delivered the thing. You know, people did not know us. We had nothing to show, and suddenly we come out with this game. And not only the book itself, we also have this collector's edition that has a screen, has styles, it has a lot of other stuff as well. I'll show you later. I don't know if you saw it. So it
Yeah, I
was,
don't think I have. Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty awesome package, especially if you think about that it's our very first
Mm-hmm.
product. So then
Are
comes
you
Inferno.
gonna release the Hyborian Adventure game?
Um, I'm working on that. There are
Oh
certain
yeah.
details that
Yeah,
I
yeah. I was
yes,
worried about how licensing stuff and because it is
yes.
public domain, right? In the United States as well, or isn't it? I know
That's
you
a
can use the name Conan because that's their trademark and stuff, but Hyborian Age, I don't know. Can you or can you not?
um. Let's put
It's
this
more
way.
complex.
Let's
Yeah.
put this
Okay.
way. I would rather work with them and do everything proper. Let's put this way.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I want to do this at the right moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it's a beautiful game. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
way more advanced and polished in the sense of the rule sets. They have another layer of
Mm-hmm.
depth. So let's put this way: they're a second wave of that engine that they created.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that game is on my list. We're thinking of the best way to release that.
Yeah.
But yes, it's on our radar.
Okay.
We're just trying to find the most elegant way of doing it.
Yeah,
A lot of people ask us that one, so and I always dodge a little bit the answer because,
yeah.
like I said, I want to do something pretty cool, something unexpected with that one.
Wow. Okay. I'm
But
excited
let's see
then.
if I can get.
Yeah.
But yeah, following that, like you mentioned at the beginning, we're doing Infernum now.
It's on
Infernum is
crowdfunding right now, right?
yeah, it's currently open. Please go there. I'm going to talk about this. So if you're curious, it's on
It is
GameFound.
on GameFound. Yeah.
Yes, it's on
Links will
GameFound.
be on the show notes. So if you're listening to this, just go to the show notes. There's a link there. Go there right now and back it because it's a really cool game, as you will hear about it.
Yes, Infernum was also a very special game for us because it's not a traditional RPG. Like, because when you think about RPG, there's usually a setting, right? They tell you what is a setting. They tell you a scenario.
Well,
There's
kind
usually
of,
a
right?
objective, right?
There are many
Yeah.
games that don't have settings, right?
No. I mean,
Yeah.
the mainstream idea of when you buy a
Mm-hmm.
game, it usually comes with that, right? And Inferno has that, but that's not the point. The point is the cycle of the prophecy. So, for those who don't know, Inferno is a game that is mostly like I joke that is a doomsday device for any RPG. If you want to put an apocalypse in your RPG, you can put Inferno there. So basically, starts with your. It's a mechanic where it starts with a prophecy that tells you how your world is going to end, and after that, you have 6 days. You have to survive the following 6 days, and then your world dies, and then you get to see if in the seventh day you reach promised land or whatever version of I don't know not heaven, I don't think is the
Heaven,
right
yeah,
word.
but
Shelter.
afterwards, yeah, the
Yeah,
afterworld.
yeah. What will be for you? But the cool thing is, even though the original, like when you buy the book or you read the book, of course, the idea of the apocalypse comes from the book of Revelation. It has that biblical inspiration. The genius about the game is that you can set that in any setting, kind of story. You can put in a sci-fi, you can put in a fantasy, you can put in a western, you can put in a Cthulhu theme. You can adapt that. It's flexible enough that you can put that on top of or anything. So that's why you have videos of people doing Star Wars. They are doing Assassin's Creed. They're doing World War II. They're doing Hellboy. They're doing all sorts of different stories that
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to do, and they add this apocalyptic factor. I joke
You
that the
you
best way,
you
just
mentioned
uh-huh.
as if you can play it as a young game, but you mentioned as if you can use it in as a doomsday device in another RPG too.
Yeah. So
Okay.
basically, you can, let's say you have a campaign in another system that you like,
Mm-hmm.
but you can actually put on top of that Infernum, so you can follow that structure of narrative and the way
Okay.
that the roles happen for certain events, for the apocalyptic events to unveil, to dictate how that world is going to end. So if you want still do combat in your system of reference, you can still do that combat that way. But how things are going to blow up and how the plagues are
Okay. The
going to happen,
events. Yeah. Yeah.
you use Infernum as a toolbox, and you can use that as well. Because Infernum, the book, is really interesting because is the version we're releasing is the complete version. Let's put it this way, as we call in Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
the apocalyptic version, which
Yeah.
is the original version with the core rules and the core setting, plus a huge collection of supplements that the authors
Mm-hmm.
created, along the way. And all these supplements, they have extra rules, so you can fight giants with the Colossus. You can create dungeons. You can there's a hex crawl element. There's oracle for you to use tarot cards. You can replace dice with poker cards. So there's a lot of different things that you can add. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very modular and flexible, and you make it the any way you can. And of course, there's the Force Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So there's also elements that you can customize the impact of these four major enemies to your campaign or your setting.
Mm-hmm.
I joke that jaded Dungeons and Dragons players that they're playing their power fantasies for years, and the GM is really bored because their group already killed all their gods, and they are the
There's
Dragon Ball
nothing
Z
else to
dilemma.
do.
There's nothing
Yeah.
else to do. It's super boring. Just throw Inferno in there and get rid of the misery.
And watch the fire burn.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
just destroy the whole thing and see what happens. I think it can be very liberating and very interesting.
Yeah. That's great. And have you played a campaign with Inferno or played
we,
Inferno by itself?
yeah, we play solo. I think that's another very interesting point of Brazilian games, right? They all have, or most of them have, a solo component. The solo
Oh
component is a
yeah.
very strong thing. Especially me and my wife. We have two small children. We don't have a lot of time to have a full group
Oh
and
yeah.
have big sessions. So the solo play is
Well,
actually
you're
or
you're working on you're working on that, right?
yeah.
So you have two
Yes,
new players for the
eventually,
like
eventually
eventually,
they'll
yeah,
get
you're
ready for
working on
that.
that. Yeah.
But not especially the Infernal theme. I think,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That will
still a
take a
long
while,
way.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the solo play is actually the best thing because it's is a great creative exercise for us, especially for us, the great creatives who work with narratives. It's an amazing exercise for us to expand our horizon, to think fast, to find solutions, to understand how narrative works. So I think all like Cthulhu has a lot of tables, like Sorn has, for
Yeah.
instance. It gives a is an engine that does a lot of things for you in a very
Mm-hmm.
automated way. That's the brilliance of that game. Inferno is kind of like the opposite. It's very minimalistic. So it forces you to come up with solutions based on a lot of loose words and a loose situation. So you kind of need to kind of
Mm-hmm.
mix and match those things, and you end up in really fucked up places, which also fits the theme very well.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the beauty, I think. Also, it's not only flexible in the rules, but also because you can play solo, you can play in groups, you can play with a traditional GM. Um, you can do anything with that game, or most of the games that we work with, like Brazilian games. You know this too. I think that's the beauty of working in a community that wasn't completely dominated for Dungeons and Dragons their whole existence.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people regret that though, but I mean, yeah. I think it's good because it lets us see other stuff, right? And cultivated a community that produce their own thing, right? And like our our major event here that has an award that doesn't give awards to Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, So I think it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, which is also very strange and difficult for us here. When I get to, for instance, we're going to promote a new RPG in the United States. Okay, let's find influencers, let's find content creators that promote. Like 95% of them are Dungeons and Dragons. And they're like, oh my God,
Oh yeah. I
right?
mean, yeah.
But how we're going to talk to these people, you know? um,
Yeah.
it's a completely different beast. It's interesting too because the moment that we capture their attention, it means that we did something really, really, really amazing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's
Um,
true.
but also we have an amazing scene of other games. Of course, we have like with the OSR, the Zalta Funeral games, the Indie Press Revolution. As you go there and you can get lost
Yeah.
there for hours and hours looking at amazing games. But you know, you need to the challenge here is to convince the mainstream Dungeons and Dragons player to stop doing
Yeah.
that and go there and try. I think that's the biggest
Yeah.
difference. If you go to Brazil, they're more open because they were never completely dominated by Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
If it's good or bad, I don't know.
Are they? I don't know if they are, or if it just because we are surrounded by people who make indie games, so we think people are more open because that's the people we surround ourselves with. But I don't know if the
Tell me more.
majority of
Do
players
you
in
know a lot of
Brazil,
people who play Dungeons and Dragons in Brazil?
not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons, but for example, Tormenta,
Okay.
which is our Dungeons and Dragons in a way, and
Someone needs to be the big boy.
yeah, I mean,
I'd rather have
yeah.
Tormenta there. At least, it's more natural.
Yeah, of course, but I
right?
mean, yeah. But there's a lot of people that only still play the big boys like Tormenta,
Yeah.
Pathfinder, Call of Cthulhu, and
Yep.
yes, D&D and
Yeah.
or World of Darkness, which was huge in Brazil, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. Well, I
yeah.
think part of me that is here is because of that too. Like, I'm a huge World of Darkness
Oh yeah.
offspring.
Did
I
you
wouldn't.
did you did you dress like a vampire and walk on shopping malls? Or no?
Uh,
Because when I was
the
a
90s were
teenager,
wild. Let's put this way.
yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
The 90s were wild. No, I think the only time that I dressed is it was a really ridiculous failed attempt of trying to do LARP,
Okay.
and never again. Let's put this way. I'm not gonna tell the story. It was someone almost got hurt for real because of misunderstanding.
Wow.
So I'm not gonna do that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. People here in Brazil, they would dress like vampires and would go to the shopping mall, and they would pretend they're vampires with
Yeah,
anyone that would talk
yeah,
to them. It
yeah.
was
It was
not cool.
crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It
that's crazy.
was.
The
Yeah.
90s were wild. And again, it was the
Yeah.
boom of what? Anne Rice novels. They were very popular here.
Yeah.
Not here, in
Uh,
Brazil.
interview with the vampire, the kind
Yeah,
of movies and
the
stuff.
movie. Yeah, it was big.
Yeah.
It was big.
Yeah.
And another thing, that's another reason there was no Dungeons and Dragons officially in Brazil, I think, right?
No,
So
I think
when
it
Vampire
was a
when
third edition or second edition. Yeah, we have gaps, right? They
yeah,
come for a while, release some books, and go away, and then come back, release some books, and go away.
yeah,
Yeah,
because if I remember correctly, the I think that what made Vampire the RPG so popular is because it was the biggest RPG that was localized at that moment in Portuguese, right?
yeah, that may be right. Yeah,
It was the Via,
because
right?
yeah, because although the viewer might have AD&D
Mm-hmm.
second edition or
Second
something,
edition, I think.
they
Yeah,
just released one book, like the basics, and one other book, and would stop, and the new thing would be vampire. So people
yeah.
would let's go to vampire because there's nothing being released for D&D for years, right? So
And I
maybe
think
that's
they brought the
that's the
authors
thing.
to Brazil, and there was a lot
Oh
of coverage.
yeah.
And then, of course, then they start releasing everything, werewolf and mage and all these supplements and
Yeah,
stuff.
and you're a teenager and you want to rebel, and there is like this
Yeah, it was the 90s. It was the
weird
decade
new
of the
thing.
attitude.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
90s was the decade of the attitude.
yeah,
So
and
uh,
that was perfect. Yeah,
it
but
was the perfect moment. It was the perfect
yeah,
storm. So um, that was it. So
yeah,
Vampire, I didn't even play a lot of Vampire later, but I still love to go back and read the lore of the clans and such like. So
yeah,
I really enjoyed reading as as a novel of such. Let's
yeah.
put this
That's
way.
true.
So they're pleasant read. Even if you
Yeah,
didn't like the system or anything. So
for sure. Yeah,
yeah, World of Darkness definitely is still a big influence in Brazil.
it's a
That's why we're
very
having a
rich
vampire
lore.
and a werewolf
Yeah,
and a witch book,
yeah,
even though
for
they're
sure.
completely
Like
different.
for sure. But I mean, you obviously can see a little bit of influence, right? And like it's still like an artist. Of course, Jefferson and Bruno made it their own thing. But the vampire, werewolf, mage, and you see the sequence, and it's the seed, right? and I love it because I use it too. Like my own Dark Streets and Darker Secrets has a lot from World of Darkness as well, and I think that's only natural, right?
Yep.
And talking about this World of Darkness, horror, vampire, weird stuff, and the theme of the podcast
Oh
is
yeah,
weird,
exactly.
and the words is the new wonderful. I wanted to ask you, what is weird for you? How would you define weird, and how do you seek that in your work, and also outside of your work, in your life in general? Do you seek weird things, weird experiences, weird media, anything like this?
Um, yes, actually, you can. Well, this is a podcast. Well, luckily people cannot see, but you can see here because you have my camera.
Yeah.
I have a huge collection of movies here. You cannot see
Wow.
everything, and a
Yeah.
lot of these are weird movies. Like they're like have Italian movies from the 60s and the 70s, like slasher, giallo. We have movies from the Philippines, horror movies. I have Mexican lucha libre santo movies here. I have again because I work with China Video. I have a huge collection of kung fu movies from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. I actually wrote a book
Wow.
about kung fu movies a few decades ago, actually. So I think that's probably the weirdest thing about me is that I love weird movies. Worked with a lot of restoration companies as well to find um, negatives of movies
Wow.
for restoration. Actually in Brazil as well, from Brazilian movies as well, and
Yeah.
trying to scan them to make digital masters. Otherwise, they'll be lost forever. So that's weird. There's
Yeah.
a lot of weird movies here.
But how do you define the weird for yourself? How do you what do you
um,
say it's weird?
that's hard. Like I think it's really depends on people's expectations. I think weird is something that defies the common sense. I think people. I think we most people they don't really live in the present. They don't live in the now. Everybody's really worried about the future, about what I'm going to do tomorrow, what I'm going to do 10 days from
Mm-hmm.
now. So a lot of people live on automatic. They don't really pay attention to what they're doing, and that becomes the normal. I think in the way I see things. Most people just work and live and sleep, and they just pass by in a very automated way because they are
Mm-hmm.
living in the future. They're not living in the past. I did this for many years, and now I'm able to stop and start thinking, why the hell I'm doing this? why
Yeah.
I'm why I'm worrying so much about something that does not exist yet. The future is not, the future doesn't
Mm-hmm.
exist. Only exists. The future does not happen yet. So I
Yeah.
think the weird for me is, you know, stop and think about, okay, I'm not going to do what everybody's doing. I'm going to enjoy myself now. I'm going to try to do something different now, something that I never did. I'm going to try to think differently. I'm going to try to meet different people. I'm going to try to get out of my comfort zone. And I know that when I say these things, it doesn't sound weird at all. But yes, not a lot of people are doing these things.
Yeah,
So
but I
I
think
can,
there's
I can, yeah,
some
I feel a little bit
minutes of
exotic.
truth there. Like, that thing you said about living in automatic, kind of the anxiety and not seeing things, and sometimes for you to notice the weird, you have to do what you're saying, like to live in the now and really look at things as if you're looking at them like for the first time, and like for example, I walk from my seats every day, and same trees, and like, oh yeah, tree, we'll go to the bakery, buy some bread, and come back. But no, after spending 2 weeks in the United States, going to Game on X and Gary Combe and seeing all these kind of different trees, and coming back and walking on my street and seeing these trees again, I was able to to see them in like completely different light, right? Like how beautiful they are, how so completely different they are from the trees I saw in Wisconsin, or you know, the bushes and then the gnarly trees in Arizona and stuff. And see here, like it's kind of jungle because you have the trees and you have all other plants growing on that tree. It's like the trunk itself is growing with all kinds of stuff, you know. And there's like it's the only trunk. There's nothing else. Even like very little, you know, leaves and stuff like this. It's weird. Like it looks like the tree's alive itself. It's everything. It's bursting with life, and yeah, it can be weird, right? It's something you see every day.
Yeah, and sometimes you just decide, no, I'm not gonna do what everybody's doing. I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy myself. I'm just gonna be
Yeah.
here and do nothing, but not in a lazy way. When normally people say I'm gonna do nothing, they're just gonna lay on the couch watching TV. That's not the point. It's just me like, no, I'm gonna sit here and observe and see
Mm-hmm.
if there's something else that I can, learn from
Do you
not doing
do you
things.
do do you do this regularly? Do you have a practice of doing this, or just something you do like occasionally?
I'm starting to do this. I think that was part of my. Remember when I talked about soul searching in the beginning, the
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
crisis and such. I think it started when again we were in Washington, and
The pandemic. Like
we're
here
feel
was
yeah
like the same thing. Yeah.
yeah we're feeling locked down literally, and suffocated, and we needed to do something or we would go crazy. So we started doing meditations and all those kind of things to try to at least not go insane. But the moment that you start stopping and saying, okay, there's nothing we can do, there's no run away, we're stuck in here, we need to accept it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then you need to figure out ways to live through this, otherwise you go crazy. And that's how I started doing this. And nowadays I try to keep it that way. And that's actually a great way for work, because sometimes I have manuscripts here
Yeah.
where I'm reviewing text.
Yeah, some of the creative techniques is like just sit down, stare at the wall as the longer you can, just stare at the wall, and then you can't help but have an idea, right? Because there is nothing there. But you can't be thinking about your bills. You can't be thinking about,
No.
you know, anything. Like, wow, what's somebody thinking of you, or some problem you have with your neighbor. Have really to really stare at the blank wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So
hard.
sometimes I get a book and I am reading the rules and I say, okay, there's something doesn't feel right here. It's good, I understand, but there's something here that doesn't click. And then I sit there in the sun. I have a little bit of, like, there's a pond here, and I keep looking at the rules and keep looking at the sun and keep looking at the pond and keep looking at this. And I was like, something will come up. I only think about this. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of this. At least I now have the moment to do this. It's not like hours and hours. It's sometimes 15
Mm-hmm.
minutes are enough. It's not that I only do that with my life, but I
Yeah, of
reserve
course.
that
Yeah.
little slot of the
Yeah.
day to do that kind of reflection. And
As
I think it
even
works.
5 minutes
Yeah,
meditation can be
yeah, yeah,
a great difference, especially if you do it consistently. Like I
yeah,
always say here, like consistency is way more important than intensity. You know, if you can
100%.
turn that into a practice, even if it's like 5 minutes every day, that's gonna help you a lot. But where did you learn to do this? Like you went so searching. Did anyone give you advice? Did you read any books? Did you do
Um,
therapy and someone advised
yeah,
you to
well,
do
yeah,
that?
I did therapy. I learned how to read the tarot.
Mm.
I read books about mysticism. I read books about psychology. Again, the pandemic was a weird moment for us, right?
Yeah.
Like we're trying to find new hobbies or things to kill time. Of
Did you
course, I
read
met.
philosophy or anything?
Yeah,
Or
not philosophy. I read a lot when I was school because my degree was in English.
okay.
but more nowadays is more about um, spirituality and
Mm-hmm.
mysticism.
Are you a spiritual person,
Yes, I
religious, or?
am. I am not. I'm not a religious, but I am a spiritual person. Um, so, and actually helped me a lot also reading all these interesting books because it also gives me a lot of inspiration as well.
Oh yeah,
So, in the worst case scenario, it helps a lot of. Actually, for instance, oh, another weird thing about me is that I have a tarot deck in every room in the house. I have
nice.
one. I have one here by the office,
Mm-hmm.
and I have other
I
decks.
got
I collect them.
I
So I
got a
have.
beautiful one from the Lord of the Rings tarot deck. Have you
Yeah,
seen
I
that?
saw that one. I want to buy that one. I couldn't
Amazing.
find
I
that
saw
one.
that one. Like I have to get not only to as like a rock or two to help you think and figure shit out, you know,
Uh-huh.
but also like an adventure generator for Devon Ring. I think that's gonna be perfect. No.
Yeah, even though like about there was a Dungeons and Dragons that I saw the other day on Target, and it's more like a game. It's not a.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a real tarot. Like I don't think I could
Okay.
read one for you,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an amazing storytelling tool. It's an amazing
Yeah.
way for you to try to build
To
scenes
reflect. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's another thing that I tell people. A tarot is a great storytelling tool, even if you don't believe
Oh yeah.
the
I mean,
magical part of that, right?
it's not
Like
necessarily magical. It's a tool to help you think things through.
exactly,
It's it, it, it
exactly.
it's not necessarily that will tell what should happen, but to give
Yeah,
signs. Oh, if I think this problem to the lens of these symbols, maybe I can figure this.
a hundred
That's
percent.
yeah,
You got it, man. A hundred
yeah,
percent.
yeah.
That's what I tell
I'm
people. People
yeah,
people come to me and say, "Can you do a reading?" But I don't believe this shit. And I was like, wait a minute. See, if you don't believe, what the hell
yeah,
you're asking me for? And I said, and I'm not gonna call some entity that is gonna tell the future. I'm just gonna read the meaning of the actual
yeah,
cards. There's nothing magical when what I'm gonna do. I'm just
yeah.
gonna
I
read
mean,
that so you can
yeah.
reflect about it. It might
A
tell you
lot
something
of
about
yeah.
yourself.
A lot of these spiritual things, like even those like positive thinking. Oh, if you are tuned to positive things will happen to you. Not really, but if you're paying attention to positive things, you notice them more easily when they happen to you because every day good stuff and bad stuff happen to you. But if your lenses in front of your eyes are negative, you pay attention. It's much easier to pay attention to the bad stuff because it's the stuff you have to deal with. It's the stuff that occupies your minds and gives us anxiety. So if you think about what happened today, the first thing will come to your mind will be the shitty things, the bad stuff. But if you make an effort to think about were the good things that happened, it can be like things that are grateful or great things, but like my wife gave me a chocolate. Oh, my kid gave me a hug, or just small good things that we forget about. Uh, it can help you to feel better and notice more good things happening like every day. Like it can be small, but that's a good thing. You'll feel better.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like sometimes you don't even need to understand the spiritual angle of things. Just do
Mm-hmm.
it. Because in the worst case scenario, just by being positive, you're going to be more pleasant, and people are going to
Yeah.
be more pleasant to you, and everything's going to be flowing better.
Yeah. I mean,
Come on,
it may
the
sound
opposite
it may
is
sound
right.
kind of selfish, but I mean, it's more about myself. Like I feel better because I worry less,
Yeah,
and yeah.
but you make everybody else
Oh yeah, for sure.
better,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
if you're super negative all the time and complaining all the
yeah.
time,
You are spreading the negativity.
you're
You're like
spreading that.
contaminate. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
contaminate this.
corrupting
Yes, yeah,
the area around yourself. Yeah,
that
for
is the
sure.
same thing. That is the same thing. So I actually I'm very observant of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always concerned about these kind of things. So when I'm around people, I'm always trying
Yeah.
to balance things. Okay, you're being let's
Do you
up
have
this thing.
any kind of ritual or spiritual practice that you perform or anything like this that
Um,
helps you deal with, or to
no, I
help you
do
prepare for
my
the
daily
day or
meditation.
okay.
Sometimes I just burn some incense. You know,
Since you said you don't have a specific religion, but how is your spirituality? Like, do you believe in God? Do you
yeah,
believe in spirits? Do you believe in, I don't know,
yeah,
ancestors
yeah.
or how?
Yeah. I have some beliefs of let's say in Brazil there's a strong spiritualist scene like Cardicism and things like that. In the United
Mm-hmm.
States, that I'm not 100%. I wouldn't be, but I let's say I'm sympathizer of some of those religions.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I believe in spirit. I believe in God. Not necessarily what most people believe in God, but I believe in
How
God.
is your God, for example?
Oh my God, I think that there's a conscience, a bigger conscience out there that connects us. It's not a man in the sky, that is looking at you and judging you all the time. Let's put it this way.
Yeah,
It
it's not
needs to be,
George Carlin kind of
yeah.
God.
It's not George
Yeah.
Carlin. It could be amazing if it was George Carlin, right?
Oh, if it
Um,
was George
right?
Carlin, oh
Yeah,
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 that
right.
would
It
be
could be,
cool.
amazing, but it's not.
Well,
I don't think
yeah.
it is. I think it's too much. Like, yeah, no, I believe it needs to be a greater conscious. It needs to be something way more complex than us to work as a god, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something that connects us in a much more deeper level. Um, and we, yeah, we're here to do certain things in life. And
Okay.
let's put this way, I don't want to go into too much because then
Okay.
I think you're gonna go, then we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah.
become another topic. But I just want to say,
Yeah, it's fun. It's
I think that
weird.
it's weird, right? But
Yeah.
again, it's not that I'm
I
not
love this.
comfortable
This
talking.
I
It's
may be
just
atheist, but I love
uh-huh.
the idea of this like collective conscious that
Yeah,
we are all part of the universe experience
yes,
itself,
yeah,
and like we are all the same thing in a way, and almost as if we are all different versions of our verse of ourselves in a multiverse that is colliding with itself. Like the phrase like if I were you, I would be you. Like if I was born where you were born, I had like the same experience. I would be exactly like yourself in a way.
you know what? Because the thing is, I think being an atheist and I was very close to being an atheist for a long time. Um, Simply because having a lot of religious family members just pissed me off so much, and I think why a lot of people become atheists is because just religions pissed them off so much that they said no. That
I became an activist because of George Carlin.
okay, that's also amazing
Yeah,
too. So that's another
yeah,
great reason to become an atheist.
yeah.
Um, but I don't
He
know. I
made some
just
very
think
good points.
I think it's just a little bit too fatalist, so too limiting in a way. Um, and I think I'm an optimism, I'm prone person. Like I'm an
Well,
optimist. Like I think we need
there's
to,
where I inserted stoicism. It's
you know,
made me more comfortable and not negative. It's like it's the universe. That's
I I,
okay.
I need to always strive for something, even if it's, you know, we don't know exactly what it is. If I just think
Mm-hmm.
that it's going to end there and that's over, I think it's like really is that's why we're doing
Enjoy
all
this
this,
as much as you
you know.
can. Try to be the best you can here,
But you
and not
can't.
wait for something after.
No, you're not waiting. That's a thing. I think you must do whatever you have to do with the most, the best you can.
Yeah,
But maybe our existence is a little bit too short to do everything that we want to do. So, we
yeah.
get
I
to
don't
do
know.
other things later. Again, I'm
Yeah.
fine. I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine on talking about these things for a long time. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like I think when we get to these conversations, um, some people think that some others are trying to indoctrinate them or trying to
No,
put this way.
I love
And
the ideas
I
and
love the fact that people have different points of view,
oh yeah.
and I learn from this a lot. Like again, that's what I believe, but I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Oh yeah,
discovering this.
for sure.
Like I said, I don't have a firm belief of everything, and that's the beauty of this. I keep studying it.
Yeah.
I like to, for instance, observe different cults and religions and see what they do, and what kind of teachings they have and what they have in common with others.
Yeah.
That's why I like to read books from different religions and see,
Mm-hmm.
where they differ, and I think that the truth, it's kind of like somewhere between them. So all of them,
To
they
be
might have
fair, a lot of
something there.
them copy from each other. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
there's something there. I don't know exactly what. That's what I believe.
Well,
But
there is a lot of religious stuff that is coinciding with science too,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
yeah.
no, definitely. But going back to my rituals, is it's more about meditation. It's more about myself. It's more
Mm-hmm.
about aligning, um, with my, again, I wouldn't say
Yeah.
awareness because it's a trendy word nowadays, but it's just like to,
Mindfulness.
yeah, mindfulness or whatever. But more about being in the moment for real, like in knowing me
Mm-hmm.
and feeling myself. Because like I said, like we
Yes.
discussed before, for years working in the big evil corporations, we're just, robots. We're just a little
Yeah.
cog in a big engine of things, and we don't stop to smell the roses.
Mm-hmm.
And even if in the future,
You're living to work and not working to live.
yeah,
Yeah.
and now this new curiosity on religion, not religion, on spirituality and other religions, and
Mm-hmm.
mysticism and metaphysical things, at least they put me on a pause so I can actually smell the flowers.
Hello, wonderful weirdos. This is Diogo Nogueira again, and today I'd like to talk to you about one of my favorite games, a game that I created. And if you listen to the podcast, I love dinosaurs, and it's called Primal Quest. It is a weird stone and sorcery adventure game. It's a NSR game, which is this game that caters to the old school style of play, but has more modern and more cinematic gameplay adapted to our modern sensibilities. It has adventure with dinosaurs, ancient civilizations, spirity, sorcery, aliens, elder gods, and much, much more. It's very pulpy. It has, a complete rule set, a mini hex scroll, an adventure introductory adventure. You can find it at Exalted Funeral, itch.io, Drive-Thru RPG, and your best local game store. And we're releasing more and more stuff for it, so stay tuned and play Primal Quest. So let's get back to the weird with our chat. Talking about this, and since you talk about metaphysical and experiencing new things, I always end up asking this kind of stuff. So
Okay.
And this has a lot to do with spirituality too. Have you ever had any experience with awareness altering experiences, be it through even really deep meditation, hypnosis, or psychedelics?
I don't know if you're asking me if I ever got too high or if I had some
Both. Have you ever had transcendental experience,
weird.
or have you
Okay.
ever dropped some acid or mushrooms?
No,
Yeah.
I'm that boring. I never had any
Well,
crazy drug trip.
it can be. There is religions,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are
No, no. I'm
linked to
just
that. Yeah.
just joking. But no, I never had any major ones.
Mm-hmm.
I had some recurring dreams of living in another planet or another
Wow.
place,
Cool. How
and
is the other place?
not great.
Okay. So it's a
Dark,
nightmare.
dark,
Okay.
rocky place, wet. You remember that movie, Riddick?
Well, wet is good. There's water, so yeah.
Yeah, but it's not great. So yeah, I think that's probably the weirdest thing about me is, um, I have I had these recurring dreams, but
Mm.
I don't know what they mean or anything. Just, and I don't know if I'm eager to find out either.
That's okay.
I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
like, if I try to do like some um, analysis, ask for a medium to look for it. I'm gonna have some
Mm-hmm.
interesting stories to tell, but I didn't go there and investigate. But hey, that could be a very good story. When I come back one day here, ask me again if I found
Okay.
out what happened in that place. But it's true.
And
Like my mother, for instance, she always told me that for decades she would dream that she was, I don't know, a princess in this I don't know,
do you
Persian
normally
place.
remember your dreams? Do you normally remember them, or
No, no, no.
well,
I
yeah,
was
me
always
neither.
afraid of dreaming. I
Really?
think
Why?
um, I think it was because my first scary movie was A Nightmare on Elm Street, and that movie scared the shit
Mm.
out of me. Remember Silvio Santos? He was a
Yeah.
bastard. Like, yeah, for people who don't know, Silvio Santos is this host, TV host, most popular host in Brazil, and he was the owner of the channel. And there was this movie session after his show where he would introduce the movie. He would say, "Oh, this movie is about this, this, and that." And he would introduce the Nightmare on Elm Street like it was a kids' movie. Say, "Oh, this is a little monster movie that is really popular. You should watch." And all the kids went to watch, thinking it was something like, I don't know, Labyrinth or something. And it was a movie about a child killer that kills teenagers in their dreams.
Yeah. I never finished watching this as a kid. Like
I
that's too
couldn't
much for
sleep
me.
for weeks, so I think I was always afraid of
Yeah.
dreaming. That, yeah. So see, this is real.
Yeah.
You can have that. Thank you, Silvio, for ruining
But
my childhood.
Otavio, you work as as a publisher, work at so
Mhm.
many things in the creative industry. Do you do you have anything for yourself that you create too? Do you happen to write or draw? Do you have any hobby uh, that you
Um,
exercise your creativity for yourself?
um, that's a great question. Like I think all of us we have, but no, I don't follow anymore. I think that's why I became a publisher, is because that was a way for me to force to work on something creative and finished. Because I have probably 10 or 15 drafts of novels or books or something that I started and I never finished because I had no, goal. Right? You need to have a
Oh
goal
yeah.
to finish.
Mm-hmm.
So I always wrote, I always draw,
Or a
I have, yeah.
process.
So I draw a lot,
Okay.
very, very, but never really rarely published. Once in a while, you're gonna see in one of our books one of my
Mm-hmm.
drawings. Also because of time, right? We don't have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I also am a professor at Full Sail University. I am chair for game culture and engagement there. We have a program for game business and esports there.
Very nice. Yeah.
So, but yes, I like to draw. I write, but nothing. And once in a while I go crazy and I go back to my movie roots and I write scripts for podcasts about movies. I write podcasts
That's nice. Yeah.
about yeah. So I have a whole series of podcasts about behind the scenes. So how this movie was done or how the other movie was done because I wrote a lot of those for DVDs right behind the scenes and extras and such. So I always like to go back, but I have the scripts, but I never went back to record them. So I have a lot of unfinished
Yeah.
things.
Well, I have a crazy amount of finished things too, but it's good to have some outlets, some. It's about the process, right? It's not the destination. It is the journey. So doing those things, even though maybe we don't finish them all, it is part of our growth to make them. Right?
Yeah, I like to do lists as well.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes people
What
say,
kind of lists?
they give me a weird theme, like I want ninja movies, and then I'll
Okay.
make a list of 100 ninja movies that you should watch. Um, and it becomes like a mnemonic exercise. Can I remember 100 ninja movies? And then becomes a challenge. I need to challenge myself to remember because remember, I worked for Rubens Filho for a lot, and the guy was a movie
Yeah.
encyclopedia, so he would remember the names of the movies in Portuguese and English, the year, all this stuff. So we all had to keep up. So I
Wow.
still kind of try to do a lot of that stuff. So
Okay.
that's probably my favorite one nowadays when I have a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Someone, ask me something and say, "Do you want to? What kind of movie you like?" And I'm like, "Oh, I like westerns." Okay, what kind of westerns? Oh, Italian westerns. Okay, I'm gonna give you a list of my favorite like 50 spaghetti westerns,
Yeah.
just to see if I can remember 50 of them. And then it gets weirder. Like, can I remember 20 Italian Mad Max ripoffs? Because there are a lot of those in the 80s. Can I remember 20
Yeah.
Friday the 13th ripoffs made in Spain? And it goes weirder and weirder. See,
Yeah.
I can get really weird.
Yeah. Otavio, for your work, and I usually ask it to all creators that come here that if you have anyone that serves for you, not necessarily that taught you, but served for you as maybe a role model, either for the way they approach their work, their craft, or the way they position themselves in the community. Not necessarily they need to be from the same industry. They not necessarily be from the gaming industry, but it can be a writer, a movie maker, or anyone that inspires the way you work, you do your job.
Yeah, I think the first one was, like I said, Rubens of Filho. He was my first mentor. Let's put this way. He was the biggest movie critic in Brazil. Like, he was our Roger Ebert. And I think the biggest thing that he taught me was, you never do anything alone, right? Because he was a big name. He was famous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I started working with him. I was, I
That's
don't
a
know.
great lesson, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I started working with him. I was 17, and he was asking me so many questions, like, okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And it was remote. He didn't even see my face, and this was in the 90s. That was the beginning of the internet, so it was very rare
Mm-hmm.
for and when they ask, okay, why me? Like, why you're bothering to give an opportunity to someone that you don't know? Um, and when you are who you are and you have your whole team. I said, well, because I'm getting old, so my tastes are old. You are new, you're young, so you're bringing a completely different perspective that I don't have. If I don't have your point of view, I'm going to get outdated pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I need to pick your brain to understand where we're going. And that blew my mind at the time. And now that I'm old and older, right?
Yeah.
Older, and I'm become a professor and I deal with 20-year-olds going to college, I understand perfectly what he meant. Because I talk about video games, I talk about movies in my classes, I talk about pop culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting older. I cannot catch up. I cannot watch everything.
For sure.
And we're talking about anime, for instance, right? I was there when, for instance, One Piece started, but One Piece, the anime, is already 1,000 something episodes. I stopped watching One Piece when it was like episode 30. I cannot keep up.
Yeah.
I don't know what's the new anime now. I need someone younger to tell me what is hot, you know? So I think those lessons in the beginning, I think when you're starting and you have a very good mentor that will tell you those things, are really important, because it can actually change the perspective of the whole future, like how you face your career. you know that advice, you never do anything alone, right? You think, for instance, Stephen King, right? He writes, what, 5 novels a year. How crazy that is, right? Of course, but he doesn't do that alone, right? He has a whole team. He has probably one of the best publishing teams in the world help him. Even though his name is on the cover of the book, you know, he doesn't do that by himself. Even though we think about him as the author. So he always put the team first. He always said, I cannot not do this without you. Even when we joke, like a lot of us were ghost writers, right? The name of his show was his name, his column or his name, so our names did not show right away in the credits. But he
Mm-hmm.
never hid the fact that he wasn't the one writing all those. Like, no, these guys are my ghost writers. So, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a ghost writer, right? The ghost writer is not supposed to be seen. It wasn't, at least. Now it becomes more. It becomes, more mainstream to understand, to share credit with a ghostwriter. But back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, it wasn't as common. So I think though that was my that is though a lot of lessons from that period I still carry, and I still try to pass it forward, um, to people.
Yeah, those are great lessons, and it's an excellent way, and it's very reflective of the indie RPG community is like that, right? We always try to give credits to everyone, and share the love, because as you said, like you're not doing this alone, right? And I'm pretty sure everything I've accomplished are also because of the people I work with, and I'm very grateful for everybody. And you're working with great people to release your game, so I hope it will work out all right in the end. Right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're doing the thanks for Inferno, the book,
Mm-hmm.
and we're putting credit. We're in our thanks. We're putting people who said nice things about us. They didn't, you know, uh, help with the book.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't help create the actual book, but sometimes someone helped us in some way. You are in the book, by the way. You are in the
Oh,
thanks.
thank you very much.
By the way, Cesar Capaka is in the book because he gave
It's
us
amazing. Yeah.
amazing quote, help us. He's sharing us. The Exalted Funeral guys are there in the press because they shared without, completely selfless.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
didn't need to do this. They just said, we're going to help you. And they are in our thanks because they didn't need to do this, but they're helping us.
Yeah.
So yes, you need to give credit. You need to. Sean Tompkin from Iron Sword. He
Wow.
he
Yeah.
just retweeted us and said this looks really cool, and I sent him a DM, and he replied and gave us a beautiful message that warmed our hearts. So I gave him a thanks there too, because the incentive is also important. So yes, I think that's true. You need to thank people. I think you need to give credit to people. You need to lift people up. Where's the say, a rising tide lift all boats?
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? You need to put people on the spotlight, um because everybody grows together.
Yeah. For sure. And in the community, this is even more important because we are so small, and every voice helping each other really, really, really helps.
Yeah.
Uh, Otavio, another thing I always loved asking here is about maybe weird games you've played, maybe the weirdest game you ever played, or maybe a really weird game you played recently, and did it
um
made you think about games in any different way or anything like this?
um the weirdest game that I ever played, it's probably one of the worst moments of my career, actually. It was a video game, actually, called Muscle March. It's a
Wow.
weird Wii game about a group of bodybuilders running in line, chasing someone who stole their whey protein uh, bucket. And because it was a Wii game, you needed to keep doing the bodybuilding poses to kind of succeed in the game. And that
Mm-hmm.
probably was the weirdest shit I ever done, because I was a game reviewer at the time, so I had to play this for a magazine. I remember, I think it was a magazine, and I was like, I cannot believe that I'm gonna have to play this game. So Google this thing. It's Muscle March is the weirdest shit ever. That's probably the weirdest game that I ever played of any kind of game. Now, one of the most interesting games that I ever saw lately is not a new game, but it's a game that I have a lot of respect about for it. I think you know this one. It's the game Pulse, the
Yeah,
circle one.
from Enco. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
yeah. I always go back to that game because I find it so interesting. It's not. I don't even know if you call it a game, right? It's a narrative um,
Building tool, right?
builder,
It's
right?
yeah.
Um, which is yeah, it's a game. Let's
It
put
is
this.
a
It's
game.
a
It's a
game.
game
It's
of
a game. It is
building
a
a
game
narrative. It
because
might not
there's
be necessarily
investigation.
a role-playing game, but it
Yeah,
is a narrative
yeah.
game. Yeah.
By Ancient Chagas. It's
Mm-hmm.
a very interesting game where you do this circles, and you're going to tell the story. You're going to see where things touch or different moments of the story from different people connect. And I always get back to that game because it's I don't know, something speaks to me. It's a very interesting game. It's
Yeah.
I didn't know this game until last year when we met at DOF last year.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I didn't
Yeah.
know about the game, and I met Encho there, and I saw the game, and me and my wife was talk about, okay, that's the circle game. The circle game is amazing. Let's see that game again.
The circle game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we call it, and it's a very unique game.
Yeah, I think they have it in English too. Uh, and he won Game Chef for it. I think
Yeah,
for
yeah, I
that
think you
game.
can
Yeah.
download for free on HIO. I think there's a free
Mm-hmm.
version. So yeah, look for it. It's called Pulse.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting game. You should, whoever's listening, go there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And Otavio, we are almost at an hour and a half, and we talked about games a lot. We talked about spirituality and religion a lot, but also we're getting to the more personal and whimsical part of the podcast.
Okay.
And I know I already asked you about spirituality and religion, and even if you've ever done psychedelics. Uh,
I
but I
haven't.
also
I'm a boring person.
yeah. Well, I mean, not about being boring or not, but it's a new different experience, right? It's maybe you're up for it, maybe you're curious about it, maybe you're not. It's just
I never had the
something else,
opportunity.
right?
Actually. I don't ever think that I had the opportunity.
Well, maybe next time we meet, you'll have your opportunity.
All right, I'm gonna take that seriously.
Are you? Oh yeah, we'll talk about this afterwards. But anyway, what I what I like to talk to you about is
Hmm.
maybe uh about other weird experience you might have. Have you ever you talked about dreams, but have you ever had any kind of out of body experience? Have you ever had any transcendental or maybe even that night terrors or anything weird that happened to you or near death experience? Anything that made
Yes,
you see life in a different way?
yes. I had a surgery
Wow.
for I forgot the term. Um, Let me see. Let me Google just a second. You're gonna listen to me typing. Um,
Yeah.
what is that?
Brazilians trying to remember.
Yeah, Brazilians
Yeah.
trying to remember in English. It's a
Words for.
gallbladder, like a
Oh yeah.
stone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went to an emergency.
Wow.
And when I went to the pre um, surgery room, they were asking me about allergies. They're trying to do the pre-op
Mm-hmm.
analysis to see what kind of drugs they're doing for the anesthetics. And I have a lot of allergies
Mm-hmm.
to certain medications, even basic medications like Advil, things like that. So I cannot take them. And the chief of anesthetics there was administering the drugs. I think he got afraid of doing the basics, the basic
Mm-hmm.
cocktail of drugs for anesthetics, and he gave me a lower dosage than you're supposed to do. So basically they knocked me off. I was sleeping, going to surgery. So I was expecting to wake up, you know, after the surgery happened. Okay, everything went well. But what happened is a few minutes later, I woke up. However, the anesthetics were already working. So I was
Mm.
completely immobilized. I couldn't
Shit.
even
Yeah.
breathe because I was already on the respirator. So basically, I had the feeling that I was dead because I couldn't feel my lungs.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't
Wow.
control my breathing. I was being completely controlled by the machine and the
Wow.
and the doctors, but they were chatting among themselves. I could hear them. They were just
As if
casually
you're a
talking.
ghost in this in
Yeah,
the
yeah. I
room.
was I
Like
was listening to them.
that must have been
Uh,
super scary.
and the problem is I was in panic because I was trying to breathe. Right, you're pulling. I was trying to. Like in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, I was hyperventilating, but I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't feel my lungs. That's the feel. That's how I can describe
Wow.
this. And then um, I stayed there for a while. I don't know. I didn't know how long, but I stay. I remember they were talking about their lives, how they went to barbecue the day before, and things, trivial things. They're just not paying attention at all to me until I was doing a lot of effort to try to move something to show them that I was alert.
Yeah.
But I couldn't, of course, until I start drooling. I could feel that I was drooling. That was the only thing that I think I managed to do. And then I listened to my doctor. And the lucky thing is that the doctor that was going to perform the surgery, he knew me. He was not a doctor that was there in an ER or something. He was a family doctor. And when he
Mm-hmm.
got there, I just remember him saying, "What you guys are doing? He is awake." And they're like, "No, it's impossible." And I remember him arguing with them, and they're saying, "No, he's not awake." And it's like, "No, he is. I've seen that there's something there. There's something off." And then I got knocked off. So when I wake up, the doctor wasn't there.
Mm.
I asked the nurse, "What the hell happened? If everything went okay?" They said everything was okay. And I told my mother at the time. I think I was 20 years old or something. It was with my mother there, and she's like, she didn't believe me. I was like, "No, you dreamed or something. That doesn't happen." And my doctor came in and I say, "Doctor, what happened before the surgery?" And I was like, "What you're talking about?" I was like, "Do you know that I was awakened, right? And I listened to you fighting, arguing with the anesthetics team, right?" And he was like, "Oh my god, I knew that." And he called the other doctors, and they tried to tell me that I was crazy, that I dreamed, that it was impossible. And I said,
Hmm.
"I know that you had
Yeah.
barbecue on Friday.
Wow.
I know that you did this." The moment that I start saying this, they ran away. They literally got out of my room. They ran. So my doctor got so mad that they went to this board review. They got suspended. But dude, it doesn't matter. It was the
Mm-hmm.
worst feeling of my life. It's the feeling of
Yeah.
being buried alive. And the doctor told me in the end that I spent almost 20 minutes like
Wow. Yeah. Holy.
that.
That's gonna be yeah.
It's awful. So every time that someone tells me that I probably gonna have to do surgery for something, it freaks me out
Yeah.
because I said you're
That's
gonna.
traumatic experience for
Yes,
sure.
yes, yes. It's not
Wow.
fun. It's not fun.
Shit. Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah.
I was never at risk of my life or anything like this. It's just a pure feeling of not
Yeah,
having
it
any
must be
control, being
really
completely being locked inside your
desperate. You
body.
know, maybe
Yeah,
yeah, we lock it inside there as if you know, it might
your
sound
brain in
silly,
a
but the
jar.
thing that came to my mind was hold person. No, the spell. Hold
Yeah,
person when you
yeah.
were there.
It's a brain in a jar. You're a brain in a jar.
Yeah,
You cannot do anything. You're just there. That's my feeling.
it's horrible. Yeah. But Otavio, let's maybe talk about something maybe more whimsical, even though it is weird too. You know,
Okay.
you talked about spirituality and believing in God and
Hmm.
spirits. Do you believe in ghosts? And have you ever seen a ghost or have any ghost stories to tell?
I'm terrified of ghosts. I'm scared the shit out of ghosts.
Really? Have you ever
Yes.
have any encounter with one?
Um, I don't know. That's the thing, right? I don't
I
have any
mean, do you have
clue.
the impression that you have? Have
I
you have the
do. I do. I just have a
yeah
bad feeling about it.
yeah?
Again, after you read
I
about
love that phrase too. About I have a bad feeling about this. That's a
yeah,
great phrase. I love this.
yeah, we call like yeah, the frequency is low.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Uma vibe ruim, I would
yeah,
say
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
Portuguese. Like,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, a bad
So
vibe.
after you start reading about these things, you start connecting things. Like you said, there's some physics involved in vibration and energy and things like that. I'm not saying there's a
Oh
physical,
yeah,
living thing there, but there's just heavy, dense energies
there are
in there.
places on Earth that the electromagnetic field is completely
Yeah,
fucked up. Right in there, like a small spot. It's not like a huge. It's like a very there. What the hell is there? I don't know.
there are places where I don't
Yeah,
go. I feel bad
yeah.
going. Like there are certain churches, there are certain museums, certain
Oh
old
wow.
houses. I don't go. I cannot go in. I feel something, I don't enter. So probably the reason why I tell you I didn't see any ghosts is because I'm avoiding them already.
You have this aura that detects them beforehand and like
Yeah,
nope,
so I was like, no,
I'm
I'm
not
not gonna
going
go
there.
there. No, no, no. Well, for
Wow.
instance, we live in Florida, right? One of
Mm-hmm.
our jokes is that one day we're gonna go to St. Augustine, which is beautiful, but they say this is the most haunted place in America. And I said,
Yeah.
fuck no, I'm not gonna go there. What the hell am I gonna go there? I'm never gonna go there. No, oh, it's beautiful
To
there.
hunt
I know.
ghosts.
I fuck that shit. I'm not gonna go. What the hell am I gonna do with that? No, 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 I'm not gonna go there. Um,
Yeah.
I joke like, yeah, I just have a bad feeling. It's something heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't feel good about
Yeah. I don't
those certain
believe in them,
places.
but I don't want to find out. I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah. Well, I
find
do
out
believe
if
them.
I
I
am
do
right or
again.
wrong. I mean,
Yeah, I do believe them, but not necessarily like it's a
I mean,
person.
to be honest,
Uh
I don't believe them because I don't want to believe in them. It's
huh.
better for me
Yes.
to not believe in them.
No,
It's
again, I
like
don't.
miniatures. I convinced myself I don't like miniatures because I don't want to spend my money on miniatures. So I convinced myself I don't believe in ghosts, so I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah, I think it's a great philosophy. But yeah, it's true. Like
Yeah,
again, I don't think they're gonna see a monster or anything like this. But I don't want to find out what the hell they really are.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know because I felt stuff like I have night terror or something, and I was really convinced that it was ghosts. So maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but when I decided I don't believe in it anymore, it's like the thing like you're tuned to some things. If I'm tuned to not believe in them, I won't experience them. So that's like
Yeah, yeah, but
a
that's the
safe
physics.
switch.
That's the
Yeah,
physics
yeah,
of believing. You need to tune in their
yeah,
frequency.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
don't tune that, they don't see you. If you tune in their
yeah.
frequency, they will see you.
So you can choose to believe or choose not to believe. So
Well,
yeah,
you choose or you can try to, but sometimes your mind
yeah,
plays
yeah,
tricks on
yeah,
you.
yeah,
You need to have a lot of self control.
yeah,
I think so, at least.
yeah.
That's why
I
you need
think I
to.
kind of have some of this, so I it works. I don't know. I convince myself of stuff all the time. So
I think that's a great way of living
yeah.
life. I convinced
Uh,
that I don't want spend money on shit. Yes. I'm gonna
Yeah,
say no.
that's I'm having a hard time to stop buying RPG stuff because
RPGs, yes.
it's hard. I have to join one of those uh, compulsive RPG buyers anonymous group, and like it's been 3 days since I bought a role playing game.
Yeah, I feeling. I just stopped because simply I don't have room anymore for this.
Yeah, I'm
And
running out of room, but I mean, I'm not stopping because I'm thinking, yeah, I can sell something, put some shelves here and there. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
yeah, if there's a will,
you know,
there's a way.
yeah, something like this. And you know, after my diagnosis with autism, uh, my wife got really more understanding about my obsession with books. So now
See, that's
it's
a great
fine.
thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
autism, yeah, I read a lot of books about like how you should see that as a next step of evolution, like as a superpower. You just wired
yeah,
differently.
yeah. Like everything, there's good stuff and bad stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
It's just the world is not really
it,
prepared. You're probably the X-Men, in a way. You're just misunderstood. In the world is just not prepared for you. I mean it in a
yeah,
certain way.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I have a lot of friends who have a certain, different
Oh
levels
yeah.
of that. I think at this
in
point,
role in the
it's
role playing
it's
game,
it's
world,
it's
we
very
we are
common.
out there. Yeah, we are out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's good that it's getting out there and people are understanding.
Yes,
And
yes,
if that
and
actually justifies you buy more RPG books, it's even better.
even better, right? Yeah. Do you believe in anything other supernatural stuff besides ghosts? Like, do you believe in aliens, cryptids, or any, other monsters, or maybe I don't know?
Um,
And have
I
you ever
think
had any
I think
yetis or something? In the United
Yetis.
States, love yetis.
Yeah,
People love the
Yetis.
Bigfoot there.
I would love to see one. I don't think I believe in one because I don't know. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But aliens, why not? Right? Why people are so resistant to
Have you ever
aliens? Right?
seen a UFO?
Um,
I did.
I've
Oh, I
seen.
think I did.
Yeah, that's the point. I've seen things that are interesting, like in the sky, like lights
Yeah.
or don't look like airplanes. If they're really UFOs, like in a way of aliens, I'm not sure, but I have seen them a few times.
I was
Um,
super scared of being abducted when I was a
well,
kid.
especially during the X Files craze in the '90s, man,
Yeah,
everybody
and
was afraid
there
of
was
the
that
gray
that
aliens.
movie called Fire in the Sky that
Fire, and that's a
theoretically
badass movie.
was based on a real story, and I saw that as like a early teenager and was like, "Fuck no,
There
I
was
don't want to
a
be abducted."
There is an older movie called. There are actually two other movies called Communion and Without Warning. They're also about gray aliens abducting people, and they're fucked up if you're a kid watching
Wow.
that movie. And with Fire in the Sky, that's the holy trinity of fucked up movies about aliens.
So
So
it's Fire in the Sky without warning, and the
Without
other one
Warning,
is
I think it's Communion.
oh yeah, Communion.
I think it's Communion the name.
Yeah,
Let's see.
I'll look for that. Yeah,
It's an
I'm
older.
I'm I'm interested in doing some alien RPGs
Yeah, it's called
someday. Yeah,
Communion in Brazil. It's called Estranhos Visitantes. So yeah, weird visitors. The Brazilian
yeah,
titles were always
yeah. We,
awesome.
we always try to
Yeah, yeah,
explain the movie
yeah,
in our
yeah,
titles.
yeah.
Yeah.
Without Warning, I think it was most like a slasher movie with an ET.
Okay.
I think it was Without
Yeah.
Warning. I think that's it. I think that's the name. Um, yeah, I think that's the name. Yeah, Without Warning.
Okay.
It's a movie from the '80s. So watch this one. You're gonna find it interesting. But
Okay.
no, yeah, I saw a few of them. I don't see the reason why not believe in aliens. Not that I follow or believe in these crazy conspiracies.
Well, one of the reasons would be if they were here, why don't we know already? Why are they hiding? Why?
Well, that's the beauty of spiritualism. If you And that's actually very cool. Even if you don't believe, that's pretty cool for storytelling. That's very cool
Oh
for
yeah,
for
of
a lot
course.
of a
I
lot of
love
novel.
conspiracy theories. I
So
love conspiracy
the
theories.
idea is, if you believe, there's a lot of like the new age movement and stuff. The idea of aliens is pretty simple, because interstellar. Well, of course, I'm oversimplifying things. So whoever's listening, if you believe in these, forgive me. I'm not disrespecting. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just trying to make it more digestible. But roughly, the idea is that physical physical travel requires a lot of energy, right? You need
Mm-hmm.
rockets or whatever, spaceship. So most of the interactions are actually psychic. That's
Oh,
why
okay.
that's why a lot of mediums, they say that they they have connections not only with entities, so they don't know what,
Mm-hmm.
they don't call it ghosts, because when we say ghosts or spirits, we normally associate those to humans,
The
right? But
dead, yeah,
they don't necessarily need to be humans. They could be from other places.
or the
Uh,
dimensions into
yeah, or the
whatever.
dimensions.
Yeah.
So they are technically aliens, or they are, aliens, and they can actually be there's people who believe in the gray aliens, like
Mm-hmm.
the all these the reptilians, all these kind of
Mm-hmm.
things. They have basis on spiritual records too. So
Sure.
some people believe, some people don't believe. That part, I'm still. Let, let's say that part's a little bit too sci-fi for me yet. So I'm still, but I find it amazing. The lore
Mm-hmm.
of the
Oh
thing is
yeah.
amazing. So that's why I'm still open to all these things. At least is much better than, again, the big old man in the sky just judging you for
Yeah.
having dirty thoughts. I rather
Mm-hmm.
think that we're part of this intergalactic conspiracy of things. That's pretty much more. That's way more exciting, at least to
Oh
think
yeah.
about.
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't interfere.
And somewhat more hopeful, right?
Yeah,
That we're not just alone here and we'll die here in a way too. Because if there's something out there, maybe we can get out too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, for me personally, I don't think about these things. My religious and my spiritual practice is much more simple and
Mm-hmm.
local than this. I won't
Yeah,
go
yeah.
there,
We're just exploring the weird here, I
but
guess.
but I find it amusing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very cool to read those things. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of websites and there's a lot of people who do those connections, and I find it very interesting to see there's a lot of YouTube channels about mediums who do these kind of connections, and the
Mm-hmm.
stories are pretty compelling. Let's put it this way. I love it. So yeah, take a look. It can have a lot of inspiration, at least.
Yeah. Otavio, we are like on hour in 45 minutes, and now it's time for like our last questions, which are very more whimsical and funny and more to see kind of personality and stuff that you
All right.
like. And the first question would be if you could live in any fictional world, whether it's from games, movies, literature, whatever. What universe or world would you live in, and who would you be in that world?
Holy crap! I wasn't prepared for that one. Um, it's probably gonna be a cliche, but if you don't have an answer, the answer is always Batman,
Yeah, the
right?
Batman. Batman?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Okay.
answer always is Batman, right? There's nothing else. If there's
Uh,
no other thing, it's simply because, come on, if you're a billionaire and you're bored, that sounds like a very interesting hobby. Um, you know, cosplay. Um, I don't know. That's a silly answer, but I don't know. I don't
yeah,
have a better answer for you. It's just my favorite character. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was a fan of Batman more before when I was younger.
Hmm.
Now I don't like billionaires that much. So yeah, I like Batman, like
Hey,
a billionaire
I,
punching criminals that
I could
became
be
criminals
Adam
because he
West
has all the
Batman
money.
too.
yeah,
If it's more my my
Oh
my
yeah,
body, so it could be Batman in the '60s. It's fine. I don't need to be a billionaire. He was
yeah,
only a millionaire back in the
yeah. I That series
day.
was fine too. It was very funny. I loved the onomatopoeias, like the
Yeah,
punches. Paul. Yeah,
yeah. The
that was
shark
fun.
repeller, all the
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah, I think
Shark
that's
Repeller was the best for
yeah.
sure.
I think it was a fun way to see
Yeah,
life. It was a simpler time.
for sure. And the other way around, if you could get anything from these fictional worlds, from this universe, and bring one thing to our real world and make it real here, what would it be and why? And that can be, uh, a faction, NPC, a weapon, energy source, a location, anything like this, and make it real in our world here.
Wow, that's even worse. I don't know. I'm gonna be judged for the rest of my life for whatever answer I'm gonna put here. I don't know.
Not for the
Um,
rest of our life. No,
I'm gonna
no one
be.
believes. No one will remember this.
I'm giving too much credit to me as well. I don't know. Let me think. Um, maybe any world, anything. I
Yeah,
will bring Santa Claus. Maybe
yeah.
make it real, 100%. So we know for sure that is always going to be something fun for everybody. Christmas. I don't know.
Unless
I
you're
would.
naughty.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I know. I don't know. I'm in this mood
Well,
of
you get coal, right? If you're naughty, you get a
yeah. That is
lump of
true.
coal.
That is
That's
true. That
something
is
like
true.
with the energy crisis
Yeah.
today.
I don't think
That's
you can do
still
much with
something.
I don't think you can do much with the love of coal, but yeah, I think we can do something fun with that. At least we'll bring people some hope.
Yeah.
There's some magic in there. But yeah, it will be something more in that vein.
Cool. Yeah.
To bring people some smiles. I think that's what
For
people
sure.
need.
And Otavio, if you could have any superpower, you could imagine what superpower would you have, and what would be the first thing you would do with that?
Mm, wow, these questions are always tough because we always think we know what we want, but I don't know. I think I would fly. Fly is always
Hmm.
something that humans strive for, dream of, right? I think it's
Yeah.
a
And
very natural thing.
where would you
Um,
go first?
I don't know, very very high. Just see how far we could go, just to test the limits, and maybe faint for lack of
Oh
oxygen
yeah.
and die in the first flight. But that's how people do in the movies, right? They do something really
Yeah.
stupid right at the beginning,
And they
but they
wake up right before they're crashing, just
yeah, yeah.
and
So
get away.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
simple. I'm a simple man with simple tastes. Let's put it this way.
That's perfect. And and finally, Otavio, do you
Hmm.
remember the last time you felt really happy and just grateful for being here and being alive? And if you do, can you share with us when was that and what is that you were doing?
I know it's gonna sound cheesy, but um, I, especially lately, like we're talking about all these things about being the present. More and more, I'm feeling really happy and feeling really grateful.
I love cheese,
Every
so
day.
cheese away.
Yeah, I'm trying actually to see that happiness every day. I wake up and I see my kids and I take them to school. Actually, I think that's the best thing about Mind's Vision. I think the thing about me
The time
leaving,
you have with your kids.
yes, yes. So that's the freedom that it gave me. I can take my kids to school in the morning, and I can pick them up from school in the afternoon.
You can
If they
see
need
them
me,
grow. Yeah.
yeah, if they need me anytime, I'm there. I'm not in this 14-hour grind. And I'm very grateful for this. I'm very grateful for actually, and like again, the risk of being corny or
Cheesy.
cheesy is in a sense of Mind's Vision is also working with what I love, in a sense of being with creatives. Another thing that is really important for Mind's vision, we set my rule with my wife is we might not get rich doing this, but the most important thing is that I don't want to work with assholes anymore. So we only work with people who that we like, and
That's
sometimes
awesome. Yeah.
and sometimes we like a game, but we don't like the person, and we say, or sometimes it's the opposite. The game is not that great yet, but we like the person so much. They're gonna say, okay, let's bet on the person and try to make the game better, because
Yeah.
that we can always make the game better,
For
but it's much
sure.
harder
That's
to make an asshole to become a nice person. So,
yeah. That's a great way to see that for sure. Because
so, so
yeah,
we're grateful.
there's a lot of people making a lot of great games. So it's better to have good people than just good games because there's too many good games. But
Yeah,
good
all
people
games
is
are
hard to
good nowadays.
find, right? Yeah.
Yes,
You
no,
have
the
to stick
quality.
with the
Yeah,
good people you
yeah,
find.
yeah. So we're very happy. Imagine like, not that I'm plug in the game, but like think about Inferno, a game that um sold what 500 copies in
Yeah.
first crowdfunding, and now
Mm-hmm.
they're amazing creators, not only creative but they're amazing
Yeah, and
people.
everybody I hear that talked with Kyle always say they're like great people, and that's why I wanted
Yeah,
to have them here, and I hope they find a way to come here and talk about Infernum because I think they have a lot to share, and they not only Infernum like they like that book they did with a bunch of smaller games for their
yeah,
studio.
it's a beautiful book.
They're amazing creators. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of them, Jefferson, and we're going to release other
Yes.
games from other creators as well, and Bruno, and all these guys. They're amazing people. Actually, everybody that we worked so far, you always helped us every time. Cesar also helped us. Everybody that we talked about in this industry, in the RPG indie scene so far, everybody was so collaborative, supportive. Everybody said nice
Yeah.
things even when they couldn't help. They said don't give up, so we're grateful for these things because, like I said, I could be still working in a big corporation
Yeah.
where people
Yeah.
backstabbing you every day, making your life miserable, and it's hell. So yes, I'm very grateful for this. Again, I might not get rich.
Amazing.
We might
Yeah.
not, we're not, there are so many things we don't know yet
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
gonna happen,
if
but
we're
our
if we're
hearts,
getting into
yeah,
tabletop RPGs to get rich,
yeah, no,
well,
you know,
yeah,
but our hearts are at peace. Like we are happy. Our hearts are warm. Let's put this way. And we're grateful for this because this is so much better. This is so much
yeah,
better.
and you're doing a great job working with great games, and I hope to see more and more great creations from people here in Brazil being released in English, and
Yeah,
if you want any suggestions, I have a list of my favorite stuff that I really because it's the stuff that I wanted to bring in English, and then I hope to see that in English, and maybe uh we'll see more games like this, like Inferno, games from Jefferson and the other creators here. So
yeah.
I'm
Tell me,
excited to see what
we're having some
you're having
surprises.
work.
We
Yeah,
have some surprises coming. We're gonna release some interesting games pretty soon.
awesome, awesome.
We have a lot of unannounced games.
I can't wait. And Otavio, where can people find you, or can people find Mind Visions to buy their stuff?
Yeah, the best way is our website, minds-vision.com. And of course, go to gamefound.com and look for Infernum. That's the biggie for the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna have an announcement just for this podcast. We're gonna release also Nomads from Marcelo Collar. We're gonna release in the
Yeah.
middle of
Who
the
just finished their crowdfunding for like the definitive version
yeah
here in
yeah
Brazil.
yeah. We're going to release that
Great.
one in the summer, and it's gonna
Congratulations, by the way.
yeah it's a very interesting. We're gonna change a little bit the format. It's gonna be very interesting. Let's see how people are gonna react. This is still the same
Mhm.
game, but the presentation is gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna release that one. There's a few other ones they're popular in English already, but they never got a physical edition. We're gonna bring physical editions too. We didn't sign all of the paperwork yet, so that's why I'm gonna not tell yet.
Okay.
But yes, we're gonna see. We have at least 5 or 6 RPGs that I didn't mention yet to release this year in English.
Amazing.
So
wait.
lots of good stuff.
Any last messages for the wonderful weirdos that are still listening to us?
Stay weird. Weird is good. Weird is fine, as long as you're respectful and you treat people well. Just keep being weird.
Weird is
we all are. We are weird. We all are. RPG people are weird, and that's fine. That's what keeps us together. That's what unites us.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Can you take us out saying the catchphrase of the show? Keep it weird, everybody.
Keep it weird, everybody. For real.
Thank you for listening to Weird Games and Weirder People. If you'd like to keep up with the show, please subscribe to be notified when we release new episodes. If you'd like to support us, please leave a review or head on to code-fi.com/WGNWP. See you next time, and remember, weird is the new wonderful.